non-attachment. What I want to say about non-attachment is I hear people maybe misunderstand
Yes.
the most pure sense of unattachment. So sometimes people mistake unattachment for detachment.
Yep. I've made that mistake. Totally. Yep.
Yeah, and I am going to guarantee you that unattachment does not mean detachment. It does not mean that you do not care about another. So I want to frame unattachment this way: nurturing the seed for the sake of nurturing the seed. So nurturing the seed because giving and receiving are one and the same, and you know yourself as the nurturer when you nurture the seed. Right? And so you nurture the seed because you love the seed, but more importantly, you know yourself as love in the form of the seed. And so you're loving yourself in the form of nurturing the seed, nurturing the seed, nurturing the seed, nurturing the seed, nurturing the seed. And in other words, you're nurturing the seed without thinking so much of the fruit, how many fruit, how valuable the fruit, when the fruit will come, and so on and so on and so on. So it's where I'm going to call it doer, doing, and deed are one. Doer, doing, and deed are one and the same. And you're doing it for the joy of doing it. You're doing it for the sake of doing it. You're doing it for the reward of knowing yourself in the form of that which you're doing. Doing is being, by the way. So that's why I said to you, and this is interesting, like, I think in our first conversation, I said to you that when people ask me, what do you do? Normally what they want to know is, what is your job? What is your accolade or your bona fide? What is your career? How do you make your money? That's it. How do you make your money? Right? You know, what do you do? And what they mean is like, how do you make their money? And by the way, that's like, they'll be judging you based on your answers to the question.
Yeah, then they're practicing judge. Yeah.
It's all one big circle. And so, my answer now, like the only answer I can come to is, well, what I do is I be myself in the form of anything and everything that presents. By the way, in any and every moment. And by the way, in a field of trust with no judgment, in pure time presence on every level of being. And kind of like that's what this has come to, is that the way that we serve has very little to do with how we make our money. It has more to do with how we are, hence the reason to elevate, to know yourself in higher ways, and especially in relationship and service to humanity, to all of life, not just humanity. So if attachment is what we're talking about, and I'm talking about nurturing the seed. Yep. And so if anything that you do is an if I do this for you, then I expect that, or I'm doing this because I expect that. Those are all what you could call attachments. And by the way, there's another form of attachment that I have to bring in. And I'm going to paraphrase this from A Course in Miracles and A Course of Love and all the wisdom teachings. And that is that there are many different types of relationships. I don't think that you and I have spoken into this yet, but relationship is another aspect of attachment. Mm-hmm. And specifically, I want to introduce kind of briefly this word love that we use, because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, the word love is overused. It doesn't mean anything. And I do not agree. I do not ascribe. I think there's just some clarity that there are at least 3 ways in which the word love is used. So in one way, most commonly, love is used as a word that imparts strong preference. So for example, well, I like pistachio ice cream, but I love chocolate, right? So you have this strong preference for chocolate. And just to emphasize that strong preference, you use the word love. And so we can discern that that's what love means. And it's real as much as you can have a strong preference. But it's a very small definition. The way that the word love could be misused is in the way of, I'm going to call it idolatry or special relationships. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be because, remember, we're talking about self-perception. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are, and we project it upon others in these special relationships. And what that means is I am projecting upon you as my chosen beloved an expectation of how you should be in relation to me so that I can feel loved by you.
Right.
That is complicated, but that is another aspect of attachment.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Relational expectations. Yeah.
And by the way, where it really, really shows up is when people are especially, and you know what, I feel like this is a sensitive area that a lot of your listeners are really going to resonate with. That type of attachment of special relationships really tends to show up in a caregiving type of relationship. I am your caregiver. I know myself as love in the way of serving you, and I'm going to call it serving you to my detriment, serving you to the extent of self-sacrifice, right? That is a way that attachment in a relationship creates something that even can seem like endearment. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. Ingratiatedness or entitledness. Something like that, right? So that kind of like in a relationship, well, I'm the one that takes care of you. You need me, or something like
Like a
that.
codependent type of situation. Yeah.
And speaking of codependent, you are responsible for my emotional well-being, or
Oh
I'm
my gosh,
responsible
yeah.
for your emotional well-being. So I'm going to kind of like group all of that under the category of attachment, because those are like a lot of different ways that attachment can present.
Mhm.
Okay. So we've done non-judgment. We understand why judgment matters. We've done attachment, and we've recognized at least a couple of ways that attachment presents.
And would
And
you agree that attachment, maybe I'm wrong, is in that left side, that egoic? Because I'm thinking of attachments to egos and attachments to the way we thought things would go. The attachment to the vision that we had for ourselves that maybe didn't go as planned. Would you agree that that's more egoic in nature?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
And that's why what we're striving for is non-judgment,
Yeah.
non-attachment, non-reaction, and
Yeah.
non-resistance, because all of those exist within the construct of separateness. And the healing happens in true union. So remember, the big category today is how to connect to who you are in truth. And it's by letting go of who you think you are so that you can be more fully expressed through who you are in truth, in true union with others, in pure time presence, in a field of trust with no judgment, and available on every level of being to receive others as they are, knowing they have the right to be. That's like what we've said so far. It's already a lot.